The best real estate businesses are built on relationships, trust, and referrals. I'm convinced it's not built on cold calling and chasing leads. Less deals with the right people that pay what you're worth is a better lifestyle than chasing this stuff and burning yourself out. You only get paid when there's a result, right? When there's a closing. And yet you have zero control over that result all the way through the transaction.
What I see with most agents is they talk to one person or two people a day, and they hope for $100,000 results. That will never, ever happen.
Welcome to Signature Buzz, your fast-paced weekly real estate sales meeting.
Welcome to the Signature Buzz, your go-to podcast for real estate agents looking to elevate their game. I got to change that up, Chris. It's like getting a little too easy to say. I like to bobble the introduction a little bit more, but I'm excited.
Buzz.
Buzz, right? No, I'm excited. I'm starting to really get in the groove of these things. I'm looking forward to recording them. Last week, it was really an eye-opening and a good conversation with Lorraine. I got a lot out of it. I listened to it again this morning, and I even took some more notes on it. And sometimes I go into these things and I'm not sure what to expect. Like today, because it's just you and me, and who knows what's going to happen here, what kind of train wreck it'll be. But you usually get pleasantly surprised at the end because of the conversation that comes out.
Yeah, what I love about being a realtor in real estate is you're surrounded by incredible people with amazing stories that have, changed their lives or overcome obstacles, and they've now built their own business and they're succeeding in it. And Lorraine's story, like I spent an entire year working with her in a coaching group that we had. And I didn't really know her that well when we started. And even my perception of what I knew about her was changed through the episode last week, because I found out things I didn't know. And it just shows what an incredible individual she is, how she's, grabbed life by the horns and is having a great time with it, and how she's overcome such incredible obstacles to make such a success story. And I never doubt the power of belief, your mindset. And everything that she said in that episode was about, everything's obtainable, everything's doable. We're the ones limiting ourselves. We're the ones that stand in our way. So if you didn't take the time to watch it, go back and listen to it. It was just chock full of amazing points that she gave us.
Yeah, it was very enlightening. And like I said, I got some key takeaways. One for sure was when we talked to her about talking with your pass or your sphere or your SOI, right? She had the big database of people from the casino industry and how hard it was to make the calls or contact them. And I'm teaching the academy this week, and it's I changed it up a little bit, and we'll talk about that today. But one of the things I had them do on day 2 was really work on calling their sphere and putting together that list. Because a lot of times we have our list, it's in the phone or whatever. And it was interesting to see how much people struggle with that.
Yeah, I think all the agents that I've ever trained with or coached with, brand new to seasoned to been in the business, 30 plus years, everyone seems to have the same phobia. And it's that they don't want to look stupid in front of the people that they've already looked stupid in front of. I mean, their friends and family that they've grown up around, that they've got to know. And I think that, there's a little bit of lack of belief in either the process, the system themselves, and they're worried that they could fail. And if they go and tell all their friends and family that they're doing real estate and they ask them for business and they say no, they think that that's the end of the world. I mean, number one, if your mother or your wife or your children or your spouse isn't willing to give you a transaction, we need to figure out that problem. And if your extended family isn't willing to give you an opportunity, then we need to figure out that problem as well. But I mean, you should be starting there. And that should be the group that rallies around you to say, hey, listen, we love you. We support you. We want you to succeed. And I'm going to tell you, like personally in my own family, I've got some relatives who have given me business and been cheerleaders for me. And I've got some relatives who have not. And I'm okay with both of them. Like some of them get gifts at Christmas and some of them do not. And so it's okay. I actually have a family member, and I'm not going to out them on this show, but I have a family member that I've helped with a transaction. It went fantastic from my point of view, and we never did another one together. And they never could tell me why, and they never said the reason why. But you know what? I didn't break them. I went on to another family member, and I'm going to succeed despite them, not because of the way that they feel. And we're still friends. We're still family. And what's the old saying? You don't have to like me, we're family. That's how I feel about every single one of them when it comes to my real estate business. But they need to know that's how I support my family. So why wouldn't you talk to them?
Yeah, I don't know, but it is like a real phobia or a fear for people. In fact, I mentioned that I revamped the academy, the old academy. It was really a lot about cold calls, prospecting, chasing the business, and day two, we would have them on the phones doing cold calls, and we just have random numbers and call, and people use a script. Hi, this is Brandon with Signature. Uh, we're working a lot of buyers and sellers in the area, and I was wondering, when do you plan on moving? And just going through that script, and it was interesting to see how much harder it was for them to call their own people than it was to get them on the phones to call their own people. It was easier to get them to make cold calls. So that was a little eye opening to me. But as we've revamped this, you look at it and you just say, over the years, as I've taught the chasing the business, and I've started to analyze, people get productive and they start to do business. And I started to analyze, are they getting it from the calls or where is it coming from? And it almost all comes from their database.
Yeah.
And so I just think that, instead of going down this path of chasing business and setting yourself up to bang your head against the wall all the time, um, with the low success rate, why not cultivate your referral business more? And it starts with putting the list together. Why
Yeah.
is that so hard? I don't know.
I think back over the years when just myself as a kid, right? We'd have a yard sale at the house or something like that, and I was not an outgoing kid, if you can believe that. I was kind of shy, but I mean, we'd have these yard sales, and if I could make some money selling crap that I had, boy, I was out there talking to everybody. And I would get out, early, and I would make stuff look really good. And I kind of think back to doing open houses as a new agent. I had no problem understanding that if I can get these people to come in and buy this house, I'm going to make some money. And so, like we train ourselves through this process. But man, if I get on the phone and I'm talking to somebody I know, I don't want to look stupid. Like Chris doesn't look stupid in front of people he knows. He looks stupid in front of people he doesn't know, right? So I think back, as the training happened and as I changed as a salesperson, my biggest shift happened during Mike Ferry phone retreat. I went on a 3 day phone calling retreat where they put you through hell. I mean, like it really feels like hell, at least when you get there. And it's 40 other agents around you, and they have you do, script practice and role play affirmations in the morning, and then they put you on the phones. And I remember sitting there and like I've got a list of people I know that I'm not calling, and I've got a list of all these people I don't know that I'm calling. And I just thought, oh, that's why I'm not succeeding, because the people I don't know are, they're not real buyers, they're not real sellers, they're just random phone numbers. And I'll never forget my coach, Tony D'Souza, came over and he looks at me and he goes, why aren't you setting any appointments? I'm like, well, these phone scripts are crap. And he goes, that's not the problem. And I said, well, the numbers are crap. I got a bad group of numbers. He goes, nope, that's not the problem either. And I said, so what's the problem? He goes, you are. And I'm like, what? How dare you? And he goes, you're not happy to be here. You're upset you have to do the activity, and you're taking it out at everyone you're talking to. And I'm like, that's crap. You're full of it. He goes, okay, let's do the next call together. And so he says, I want you to smile. I want you to be enthusiastic. I want you to be positive, and I want you to be the opposite of what you're being right now. And I said, fine. And so we get on the call, and a random number on a sheet, right? And I made myself smile. I made myself be polite. I made myself be understanding. And he said, he can't hang up until they hang up. And I went down the script and I set an appointment. Like it pissed me off almost at that point. I set an appointment. I went up and I rang the bell my first time. Everyone in the group cheered because they were hearing this conversation. And what it told me is that all these numbers that I had called, every one of them was a possibility. I was the problem. And I think back to all these great coaching seminars and things like that, when you see a great communicator who gets on the phone and is able to get a message across, people turn on. And I think that's the issue. You got so many of these struggles that you got to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah. I mean, the best real estate businesses are built on relationships, trust, and referrals.
Yeah.
I'm convinced it's not built on cold calling and chasing leads. It took me a long time to get to that process, but this year as I've gone through some studying, some books, and really analyzing the business and the training and how to get the highest results from agents. I mean, we've revamped our entire training program. We've revamped the way we're bringing new agents into this business, and we've revamped on how to stay in connection with our agents and continue to um, uh, educate them and create environments for them to get better at their skills. Because I think skills are the important thing, and the work's done in the practice and that kind of stuff. And so I'm excited for this call because I want to discuss some of that stuff and the stuff that's launching April 1st, which is today, right? As this thing is coming out. So you'll probably have seen an email prior to this, and we would have started with our accountability call, which I'll be leading every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 to 9, half-hour call. And this is open to every one of our agents that they just tap in and listen, and they can participate as much as they want or just sit and listen, right? But we're going to work on mindset and different things like that, and working towards standards and all that kind of stuff that we're now teaching in the academy on 2 days a week at least, and that should grow into more days as this thing kind of takes off. So I'm excited about that, and I got this idea from the coach that I have now because I'm coached, right? And every time I've had great results in my life, I've had a coach, a business coach. It could be a life coach, whatever, but you have some direction, somebody to help you with stuff. And one of the things that they do is every morning, Monday through Friday, they have an accountability call for 30 minutes. And I'm just shocked at how many people tune into it and the information that's put out there. Even if it's a refresh or whatever, it just seems to be exactly what I need to hear that day. So I'm really excited about launching those.
I think that, you know, when you look at great programs like that and the idea that we're always learning and progressing, what I love about what you and the programs that you put together is you're always looking for the next key initiator to get an agent through their pain, through their process that's holding them back. And I think that what's so great about your new program is it takes them from this position of feeling like they're not enough to understanding that they're plenty, like they're more than enough for that understanding. I was watching a real estate coach online. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. But he said something that was really interesting to me. He goes, agents keep devaluing themselves and putting themselves below the consumer, below the client. Your time's not as important. Your appointment's not that important to show up to. And he goes, that's a mistake. He goes, you're just as important, if not more, and your time is more valuable. Like if you make $200 or $300 an hour and you're giving up 2 or 3 hours of your day to a consumer, you need to make the point that this is important. You need to make the point that showing up for that meeting is very important, and that you need to elevate your position in your mindset and in your speech. And that's what I love about your new program. And you have that term, and I want you to say it again. You're either the what or the what?
The favorite or the fool. Now,
Favorite
I
of the
didn't invent that. I mean, that actually comes out of a Chris Voss book, and I don't know if you know Chris Voss. He's a FBI negotiator. He wrote the book, Never Split the Difference,
Yep.
and a lot of this is modeled after that. The negotiations, the tactics, the communication, setting your standards, and becoming a full fee agent, right? And he did another book with Steve Schull, who is actually my coach, Steve, um, called full fee agent, the full fee agent. And it's about getting your full fee every time and working with people that want to pay that. And that's why like cultivating a referral business is so important because you're working with people that trust your expertise. They're usually highly motivated because they have a real reason to buy or sell. You're not trying to convince somebody to buy or sell, and they convert faster because you don't have to convince them to work with you. And then if you do it right and you give a good experience, they're going to refer other people to you. And the people that know, like, and trust you are more likely to pay you what you're worth.
Yep.
And it's crazy that when you look at our industry today and the way agents are getting business by discounting their commission or discounting their services is sad. I mean, they're chasing the deals and they think that more deals is better. And for me, I think less deals with the right people that pay the right pay what you're worth is a better lifestyle than chasing this stuff and burning yourself out. So I'm excited about that as we go through that. And you know, when you want to learn something, you hire somebody that believes the same way and that teaches the same stuff. And that's why I went with Steve Schull.
So, you said something really impactful is during this last year with the NAR lawsuit and the settlement guidelines that came out. A lot of our competitors were preaching fear, and they were talking about how the industry is going to end and how we're going to be out of business and agents aren't going to make any money. I think what I commend you for is we were teaching the opposite. We were teaching self value. We were teaching, infrastructure. Putting yourself into a position to control the transaction and have the value with the consumer. And that's what I keep getting from the program that you've created is that, me personally, I revamped my business to say I'm worth it. Like I know based on 20 years of skill and information and all of the horrible things that I've had to go through before that my time has a value and the people that I work with and coach with, their time has a huge value. And I've seen the opposite happen from the settlement. I've seen agents' incomes go up 25, 30%. I've seen the consumer say, I believe, like I see the value in the service you provide, and I see the value that you're going to provide to me. And I know you're going to help me have an easier, better, faster transaction. And I think that that's what I keep getting from this process is the only person limiting my ability or skill is me. And if I'm willing to value what it is and I'm willing to put a price tag on that and say, hey, you don't have to say yes, but you could. And if you do, here's what you get. And you're right. Like everyone in my database said, we've already seen the value. We understand it. We get it. I just need a bigger and bigger and bigger database of people that I'm working with. And that's what I've always got from the phone calls or the open houses and stuff is that, Chris only knows so many people. Chris has got to put himself out there to meet some more. And if I, instead of worrying about getting a listing or a buyer today for making my cold calls, and I was only looking to make a friend, which, just like Sesame Street, I was only looking to make a friend and I had that phone call with them and I was able to convert them over to my database. Would that be more impactful than if you got a listing today? I think it actually would be because that would have a bigger reach than just one property.
Yeah. Agree, and I like the fact that you bring up, a lot of these brokers in town, even agents, are operating their business on fear or putting fear into their agents. Like you've got to be over here because the world's coming to the end. The industry's going to stop, and you got to be aligned with the national company, or you got to this. I'm here to tell you, it's all mindset, right? I mean, if you really believe that, then yeah, that's where you need to be because that's what you believe. But if you want to run a business from fear, there's one way. But for me, it's always been with a positive mindset, positive attitude, and believing that there's plenty of business out there. And if I do what I'm supposed to do, and I operate, and I have my standards, and I operate within them, and I'm consistent about it, I'm going to get my fair share. And
I,
so I
I
just
think
go ahead.
no, I was going to say you hit a big point that like if you think back over the last 20 or 30 years of real estate, you've been in 30 years almost, right?
Yeah, October of this year.
Yeah. So when you think back over that, like I saw two things that I can really say impacted me. Number one, the agents that had a database and consistent business practices, meaning they had maybe farming areas that they worked on, or they had strategic strategies to bring on new business, and they had this huge database. No matter what happened, every single year I've been in the business in 20 years, there's been something trying to knock me out of business. There's been some entity, some law, some issue, some trans. I mean, I remember when email started in real estate, I remember using carbon copies and that was a problem. I mean, there's been so much that's happened. Every year there was something, but the agents that had a good, stable business working a database, they made it through every single one of them. And then there were these one-offs, like the short sale market hit and you saw someone skyrocket up because they knew about short sales. And then you saw them skyrocket down when the short sales stopped. And then the REOs hit and they knew how to do REO. So they skyrocketed up and they just went away. And then there's just one thing after a next that has been these one-offs that you could always participate in. But the ones that had a stable foundation with good SOI, that had a good group that they were working, they made money every single year. And the only thing I saw them not do right is they didn't grow the database continually. They didn't make it like, I want to get to 5,000 people that I'm really connected with, that I'm really monitoring. And it won't matter what's out there or what's coming at you. And that's the point I keep getting. I'm going to read you a quote that I got the other day. I think this is it. I don't know Latin, but I'm going to read the Latin part. Aut viam inveniam aut faciam. And it says, I will either find a way or I'll make one. And I think that's the point. The agents that are making one are the ones that stay consistent, are the ones that stay here. And you keep making a path that makes sense.
Yeah, That's good. I mean, It it shocked me when I first moved to Vegas. You're right. Like in 2008, when I moved here, we were in a big downturn, and foreclosures and short sales were really starting. But prior to that, you were in a big boom down here, and people were selling property like crazy. And you had lines of people for new construction and stuff. And these agents were doing a lot of transactions, right? And a lot of them extended themselves by buying lots of toys or really investing in some of these properties with maybe not the best types of loans and stuff. So when everything shrunk back, right, and the prices came down, they had to sell more to make the same kind of money, and so it put a lot of people in a big predicament. But it was amazing to me that how many of the agents started to chase the foreclosure or the short sales, looking for the new business, but none of them were calling their old clients that they'd put into these homes that probably needed to short sell or were in danger of losing their property, and they could have helped them through that process. Right. So they went out and found new stuff. And then what happened is, as they helped these people out with the short sale, they had to sit on the sideline for a few years. Right. And instead of staying in contact with them for those few years, and then when they were ready to buy again, they just went out to try to find new people. And where you could have helped people all the way through this process, become their trusted advisor and work through it, they just didn't, right? And I think a lot of that comes down to actually putting the database together with a plan. And so we're working on that through our training and stuff. So we've got these 2 days a week starting out, accountability calls. Then what we're going to launch, probably, um, it'll be May 1st or the first part of May, is we're going to go into daily role play calls Monday through
Mhm.
Friday in the afternoon. Now, the difference on these are we're not going to role play scripts and dialogues from the old Mike Ferry stuff like that. We're gonna role play actual conversations and dialogues you should be having with sellers and buyers and stuff like that, and not scripting things out to that way, but teaching you how to use like tactical empathy and different tools and tactics that you can read about in Never Split the Difference with Steve Voss. Um, but we're going to actually start to role play those and show you how those things start to work so that we can get better at our skills, so we can ensure that we're getting full fees and we're getting paid for what we're worth. And then what I've done with this academy is I've rewritten the whole thing. And it was interesting because day one, I had about 16 people in the class. And usually when I do the academy, I show up the next day and I lose two or three because we're going to go onto the phones and make cold calls. But this time, I actually increased by 5 agents. So agents started talking about it and the excitement of it, and it's something new or whatever. So they showed up. But the way I've rewritten it is I can now break it down to do space training through Zoom. And so you'll be able to come into the academy more often and get more stuff like that. So pop in, pop out, listen to the modules that you want and stuff like that. But that will be going on a regular basis too, at least one day a week. And those will be about an hour and a half to 2 hour classes as we go through that. But it's about setting the principles, and then we have the other calls that will be reinforcement. So you'll always be able to tap in, which I'm excited about, right? And then if that's not enough, we do have a coaching program. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got a fair number of our agents that go through coaching with us now, right?
We do. We have a group that we've been working with for some time. Many of us, like there's several coaches in the group, and we've seen a lot of success stories that have come from that. That we probably have not been as good at touting how successful it has been. But I want to go back to something you said a few moments ago: is that you've always had a coach, and I'm the same way, because I've never stopped growing as a real estate agent. I've never stopped growing as a person, and I have new obstacles and problems that I keep bringing up. But I think it is really important that you're always in some type of mentorship and growth. And I think that's what we put together the program for. Now, there's so many programs out there. I mean, we know that there's so many different organizations and groups that have it. And I think what you get from us here is that we're focused on your business here in this marketplace and unlimited growth potential. And I think that's what I love about the way that they're set up. And you have some options. I mean, fundamentally, you and I, and let's say, for example, Keith Line, and we agree fundamentally on the same bottom line, but we have different structures we build on that foundation. And all of them will get you there. And I think that if we go back through what's the whole benefit, It's the things you're not thinking of. It's the questions you haven't asked yourself. It's the vision that you haven't granted yourself to have. And, my first initial coach, like I said, I'd gone through Mike Ferry. And what I got from him was people think really small, and that's why they have small things. And if they were open their mind up to new things, they could grow and go beyond that. And then I kind of moved over to Tom Ferry. Tom Ferry's thing was you're not using technology for your benefit, right? You're just complaining about it. You're upset you got to interact in it. And you go from one coach after the next. I mean, Buffini's been around for forever talking about your top people and making them a part of your base and talking to them. Well, that's exactly what we just said for the last 20 minutes. So nothing there is really new, but it could be new to you and it could be a new perspective that you're willing to be open to. What I love about your new program is I was able to watch Chris Voss during the Masters series during COVID. I actually paid for that series and got to watch all his videos. And you think about it, you have a master negotiator, someone who would talk people off a ledge, literally, like off of a ledge or a bank robbery or with hostages. And he was a negotiator. And if you have that ability, like if you have that secret weapon ability to negotiate with someone in that level, you can sell anyone anything at any time. And I think that that's what I got from the coaching programs as well, is the ability to craft a better skill, right? Now, I think I'm pretty good with a good level of BS, but I could have been much greater. And and truthfully, I could have handled obstacles easier if I would have practiced them more. And what I love about your new program is it grants me the time and ability to practice my skill, to redevelop my technique and the way that I do it. When you first started out, Brandon, how often did you practice everything?
I didn't. Like I learned everything kind of by trial and error, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess in a way that is practice, right? But it's expensive practice because you don't know what kind of works. But over the time, and I think I was thinking about this actually the other day, the amount of time it takes to kind of perfect things, right? And to memorize and internalize and your scripts and to know all the objection handlers and all that stuff so it's smooth and it flows and it feels like you. I mean, it seems like it was close to 10 years of really working it before it's just you're just thinking about it or not thinking about it anymore. Like when you first start something, you're unconsciously incompetent. And what that means is you don't understand, you don't even know what you don't know, right? And then you move into another phase where you're consciously incompetent. Now you know what you don't know, right? And this is where like a lot of these trainings and stuff can expose you to. All of a sudden you go, okay, there's a whole nother world out here that I've got to learn. Now this is the point where you make a decision. Do you want to get better at this skill? Or do you want to crawl under a rock or you want to go do something else or whatever? But if you start to do that, then you become consciously competent, which means you're thinking about it. You can do it as you think about it, right? And then after a period of time of practice and working that, you go into unconsciously competent. And all that means is it's similar. Like, have you ever been driving down the highway, right? You're on your way to work or on a place you go all the time. And then you go, how did I get here? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
don't have to think all the way through the process. That's where the magic actually happens, right? But it's a lot of work to get there.
I think back to when I started, like I did everything, like, okay, full disclosure, my parents were realtors. I did everything ass backwards. My parents were really big on the idea of me understanding the paperwork. And so I spent hours, reading it, going through it. Then I would take the paperwork and I would test it on people, friends and family members that were unsuspecting. And I would say, does what I say just makes sense? And I spent all this time practicing the paperwork, but I had no clients to practice it on. And what I didn't do is I didn't develop the sales skill part of my business, the ability to go out and find people and how they're there and what I need to get. And then when I talk to them, right? And so funny enough, when I started out, I was 21 years old and I looked like baby Huey. I looked like a little kid. And I kept getting these faces from these people like, I'm not trusting you with my $500,000 house. You're like 3 years old, right? So I grew a goatee and I've had it now for 20 years. But the point was I did all of these other things so that I looked, better or I sounded better. And what I really needed to do was get in front of people and just talk and communicate with them. And so like I spent hours, like I'm not kidding. Once I figured it out, and I think it was about 7 or 8 years later, I spent hours and hours and hours role playing my skill. And then I spent hours and hours role playing the objections, because if you already know the questions that are going to be asked, why can't you find out 3 or 4 good answers? And so I would go through that and do that, but it came as a skill of learning from mentors and coaches that I worked with. And I think that as you develop as a person, you know what happens to a lottery winner that wins $50 million who literally worked for $30,000 a year? They usually go broke within 4 or 5 years because they have no skill in managing and maintaining money, right? They haven't practiced that, and that's why that happens. And so I think for me, if I'm going to be a great real estate agent and my goal is to do a high level of business, how can you not be involved in a program like this? How can you not have a coach? And I think the other point is when you start out, like we have an apprenticeship program for a reason, right? You and I made a commitment 5 years ago that we weren't going to allow agents to keep failing and just come into the business and be out the back door, a couple months later. And so by establishing this program, we tied them to a person that's going to help them through 5 deals. And why 5 deals instead of four? I don't know. It sounded like it made more sense then, but I think if you go through 5 transactions, you're probably pretty secure that you either understand the business, you have the business, and you've made a decision at that point whether you're going to continue on or just quit and get out. And I think that's a turning point, right? But why was an apprenticeship program important to you?
Well, it goes way back to NAR's danger report, right? Or when they did the danger report, and they said one of the biggest problems with real estate is the professionalism, right?
Yeah.
And so when you came over and we started talking about this stuff, it was kind of a light bulb that said, the professionalism, they always say, let's make it harder on the agent to get in. Let's make the schooling longer and stuff like that. And I always looked at it and said, I don't think that's the answer. I think it's the accountability of the broker, and no, not every broker should just hire a brand new agent. Like if you don't have the systems and the training and the processes to bring a new agent into this world, so to speak, then you have no business hiring one. And when you hire people and they come right out of school and they go over to a company, because we're 100% company, a transaction fee, but we said you got to earn the right to get that. Like nothing just says that you've just got your license, you've never closed a deal, you don't even know how to fill out a contract. Hell, maybe you've never even read one or even bought a house, and yet here you go. We're just going to go ahead and give you everything without the training. And so when we looked at it, we said, okay, we're going to we looked at mentorship programs, right? And I had a problem with mentorship programs because it usually was a mentor that was there for questions, that took a portion of the agent's commission, but didn't really help them grow. And so we changed it. We said, we're not doing a mentorship program, we're doing an apprenticeship program. And to me, the big difference is you're going to work with an agent. Definitely on your first 2 transactions, they're going to be part of it. In fact, we don't even the new agent coming in doesn't even put the contract in their name on the first 2. Like they've got to go through two contracts with an experienced agent before they earn the right to be able to fill out a contract on their own. Because we want them to see every aspect of it, and we want to tie that mentor to helping them, right? And so it's more than just paying a portion of your commission to a mentor. This is actual true apprenticeship. And
Mhm.
so it was important because now we say, okay, if we bring a new agent in and we actually go through the process and we teach, train, and coach them the right way, right? We're going to produce a better agent, and that better agent's going to be more professional, knock on wood, and we can make a difference in the industry starting with the inside out.
Yeah, I mean, like I would never expect to be a proficient in an industry and not pay for some type of training. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. And so by tying the mentor and the mentee together in that apprenticeship, it meant that everyone was incentivized to make it happen. I mean, the way it works in my mind, in my program, when I'm the mentor for that person, for that apprentice, I actually look at it and say, okay, the time and energy I'm putting into them is an investment, and I'm going to cultivate that investment. And so if they don't succeed, it's on me, and it's my fault. If they do succeed, then I should be rewarded for that, just like they are. And I watched a movie this weekend. I just remember it was Woody Harrelson. He was a dive instructor in a way, and he was in a bell down below a ship fixing all of these lines that are sitting on the ocean floor, right? And these guys are 1,000 feet down. And I just remember thinking the skill level it must take to be a deep sea diver. And you wouldn't just sign up for the job this week, stick yourself in the bell, and drop down 1,000 feet and hope for the best, right? I mean, you would go through extensive training on breathing and process, and these guys have to compress and decompress. And so I look at it that way in real estate. Like, I need that training to be able to do this at a high level, to be that skillful, because I am working with live ammunition, right? I'm working with these people's livelihoods and their homes and their equity. And so that's why I think that program works so well. And what I've seen happen now, we've had a number of people come through the program that were first year in business that got through 5 transactions immediately like that. Like they did it within 3 or 4 months, got them done, and they are now on a successful path to a high level of business. And that's exactly what we wanted. We've also had people come through and decide that real estate is not the right business for them because of one piece or another that didn't make sense. And instead of blowing their money over 9 months and going completely broke, they made a quick decision, decided to leave the industry and get out of it. To me, those are win-wins. Like
Yeah.
you either got on a successful path or you decided this isn't right for you and you put yourself into a new position.
And just what you said there, they eh, off to a great start. That's what we wanted, or they got out of the business because it wasn't right for them, and that's what we wanted. Because that's how you change the professionalism of the industry. Is you have people that are capable and willing to do it. And it's not for everyone. It is hard work. It's it's um it's a tough industry in the regards of this. You only get paid when there's a result, right? When there's a closing. And
Yep.
yet you have zero control over that result all the way through the transaction. Uh, you have zero control on making it close. You have all kinds of control on messing it up. But
Yeah.
overall, it's reliant upon other people, right? You put the deal together, you still got to have that buyer perform, you got to have that seller perform, the appraisal's got to come in, the lender's got a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of moving parts that you can't control. Yet us as agents always think we can control everything. Well, you don't. It's not about you. It's about them and their decisions and stuff. But so it's a tough business, and not everybody realizes it. They think they're going to get in here, they're going to make a lot of money off these little commissions of doing these deals here and there. And typical agent comes in a lot of these companies, and they come in on a big split, and they'll do 2 or 3 transactions and they're gone. And those 2 or 3 transactions are usually people they know, right?
Yep.
And that's been a business model of a lot of older, or I shouldn't say it is, but in the past, it was a business model for a lot of big franchise companies and stuff like that. They had the top producers in the window offices. They had the new agents that came in, sold a few transactions, and it was just almost like a puppy mill type thing. We
Yep.
don't want to run that. We want to either get people in or out of real estate, and that's what the apprenticeship program's designed to do.
Yeah,
And then
you made a point there, though. I think is important. Like you're raising above the average demographic in real estate. That 40,000 transactions a year, or 40,000 sides plus happen. But we know that out of 17,000 agents, only about 14 or 1,500 are making the majority of an income that they could survive on. And so that means that the other 16,000 that we're talking about are just bumping along one deal or no deals at all. What was the stat? I think 78% of the agents did no deals at all this year. And so that is really impactful what you said, that you need to rise above the muck and get yourself out of that. And that's the way to do it.
yeah, and an interesting thing, we had Alex on a couple weeks ago, right? He was my coach, and he kind of was making a joke of it, halfway serious about firing people, right? And it was making me a little nervous, right? Because I love everyone over here at Signature, and everyone's come on for different things, and I've always believed success is different to everybody, and I still believe that, and I still believe if you want to do 1 or 2 transactions, okay, that's your goal, and we're going to help you do that. But I think it's important to understand expectations up front, and really what we're looking for, and the effort that I'd like to see from people is that everyone over here makes at least a 6-figure income, 100,000 minimum, and you should be striving to do that. I mean, it's an expensive business, and it's a tough business, and you should be rewarded for it. And so as we're doing these and we're putting these programs in place, it's designed to raise the level of productivity of our agents. Now, if you're here and you said, hey, I came over and I just want to do two deals a year to subsidize my traveling and whatever. Okay, I get that, but I'm going to have a conversation with you each year if you're not hitting 100,000, and I'm going to make sure that you're comfortable or that's where you want to be. Because if it's not, then it's my job as a broker. It's our job as managers. It's our job as leaders to pull you up to where you need to go, or at least give you a hand up, right? And make sure that you're getting the tools, make sure you're getting the training, make sure that you're not lost. Again, your business, your decision. My business, I'm going to make sure that I understand where you want to be.
$100,000 now is about 7 transactions. I mean,
Yeah.
really, if you equate it out to the market sales prices that have risen so far, and so even subsidization of your income means that it's attainable for anybody. I mean, that's basically one deal every 2 months. So it's not a lot to put out there for somebody. I want to say one other thing on the programs. Like, we've created these programs to benefit the agents, and only a select few, like that we didn't select, have really jumped into them with both feet, and they've made monumental changes in their income levels. I mean, I could name off probably 10 agents in the company that have literally doubled and tripled and quadrupled their income from participating, but they had to overcome the scarcity mindset. When you're not making a lot of money and someone says, "Hey, I'm going to take a piece of it to help you make more," you say, "Oh God, I can't afford that." You can't afford not to. Like, I don't look at getting the whole pie anymore. I know I always come back to food. I don't care about getting the entire pie. I care about getting a piece of each pie. And that's how I've grown my business and my income, because I want to have the banana cream and the chocolate cream and all of the other pieces that are there, and I could put a whole pie together that is very robust. Not pie analogy, but the whole point is, a lot of people say I can't afford it, so they don't do it. That's the wrong way to think about things, because you'll never grow because you're always scared of whatever the outcome's going to be. I'd rather put money out there and try something, and see if it works for me to have it happen. For those people sitting here, Brandon, that are like, okay, I get it. What do I have to do next? What suggestions do you have for their first steps?
Well, first of all, I'd say, okay, that what you just talked about, that scarcity mentality, like I can't afford to pay a coach, I can't afford, and I'm not even saying hire me or you or anyone from the company as a coach, but I believe everyone needs some sort of coach to hold them accountable and to help them work on their business, right? But just think about this. Yes, if you've got a small piece of pie, right? Because your only value proposition or what you do is discounting your commission, and you think people are only working with you because you lowered your commission or you don't charge a full fee. First of all, you're wrong. But if you hired a coach that could help you make that pie bigger,
Yeah.
even what you pay them, you would still come out further ahead. Not even doing more deals, just being more efficient about the deals you're doing and working with the right people and going through a process to make sure that you're working with the right people by setting standards, right? And laying out those standards so your clients understand what it is. Like, I charge a lot of money. I'm expensive. Don't be afraid of it. You know what I mean? But you're worth it. So that's the thing. Now, to get started in this stuff, if you haven't received the calendar invite, just reach out to me in the app, and I'll make sure you're added to the calendar invite for the 2 day a week calls. We'll go through that process of getting you onboarded there, and we'll make sure that as we add the other calls and stuff, that you have the opportunity to sign up for those and engage as much as you can. The nice thing about these 2 day a week accountability calls, if you can make it, make it. If you don't. Right? If they're value, keep attending. If they're not, tell me they're not of value and how they can be, so that we can make sure that we're not wasting people's time. But I'll be able to judge pretty quickly based on the attendance. Right? It's how I always judge the sales meetings. When they're full of people, there's value. If there's no value, nobody shows up. So we'll go that route. Watch for the emails and the communication on getting signed up for the space training of the academy, right? The revamped academy. And then the last thing is, I would say schedule a 15 to 30-minute call with Chris or I, and let's talk about the possibility of coaching. Let's talk about your business. Let's talk about your goals for the year, and let's put together a plan to get you there. I'm tired of these business plans where we say we want to make all this money and stuff like that, but there's nothing tied to it. Like, let's really dive into your business and what you want to achieve, and look at your business and your life from 5, 10 years from now, and make sure that we're putting the pieces in place to get there. And that starts with you reaching out to us, right? We're going to be reaching out to a lot of you too, but if you're in need of this now, like, pick up the phone, send a message in the app. We're available. That's what we're here for. We're really here for that. And don't start the conversation with, "I know you're busy." Okay, I'm never too busy for you guys. Like, yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on. Life happens. There's a lot of moving parts, and so do they. So do you. And so Don't start it off with that way. You're entitled to the time. I'm your broker. Chris is your broker. We're your leadership team. We're here for you. So just reach out.
Yeah, I actually love those meetings, by the way. That's one of my favorite things to do. And this is something we do just because we care, is I will give an hour to anybody to talk about growth and potential of their business and where they're going. I think the point is, I can't fix anything in an hour, but we can definitely look at what's going on. Like Lorraine said in her comment, when she takes on a new client, she asks them several questions to find out where the dents in the armor are, where they need that help and support. And so that's what we will work to do. And I'm here for that. I'm never too busy. I will schedule weekends and nights. That's what we want to have happen to help you grow as an agent. I want to take just the last couple of minutes here to go over a few things with you, Brandon, because I think it's really impactful, the growth and the potential of these programs. If I were to come to you and I'll do the same thing after you're done, because I'll have you do the good stuff and I'll fill it in the gaps. If I were to ask you fundamentally, I said we all have the kind of the same foundational aspect, but we put different structures on it. What does your structures look like that you believe? I mean, for everyone listening today, for everyone that's been through this, what are the key things that you think that they need to understand and outline for their business?
So I would say the thing I've been learning a lot about is it's called the Performance Six, and it's how to um, how to operate your business really. Top producers don't just work harder; they work smarter by focus. I'm reading right here; it's right in front of me. The Performance Six. I'm studying it. They work smarter by focusing on six key areas of peak performance. These six elements create a foundation for a sustainable success in real estate. So it's about having some principles, so to speak, to work from. And number one is mindset. Like you've got to come in with the right mindset. You've got to have the right morning routines. You've got to have the right things to start your day off right. Number two is strategy. I mean, success isn't accidental. Um, you have to have a clear, actionable plan, right? A strategy. We can help you put that together if you don't have one. Standards and performance. I mean, high standards drive performance. And standards, one of the standards is what you charge. Like not wavering from that stuff and making sure that your clients understand. Like I was talking to an agent in the academy. She says, "Well, I don't want to do open houses." I said, "Why not?" She goes, "Because I don't want to work weekends." I said, "What's the matter with doing them during the week?" She goes, "I can do that." Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do that. And guess what? The beautiful thing is if you meet people during the week, then they can look at homes and sell homes during the week, right?
Yeah.
And so but having the standards, if your goal is not to work on Sunday, then that's a standard and you share it with your clients. And then habits. I mean, we got to build the right habits. If you don't have habits, and that's doing things consistently and working the processes, working the system, that's something you can control. And the last thing is skill. Well, the second last thing is skill because that's five. And the last one, the sixth one, is effort. You've got to put the effort in. And so I hope I filled in all the gaps and there's no room for you.
I think that is so important that those things happen, because a lot of times agents fail not because they don't have the desire, but they don't have a plan to go through forward with. And effort, like I've always said, that the right agent is the gritty one, the one that won't let anything keep them down. You and I have seen a number of agents that have gotten in this business because they have no other option left. Like every other door was closed to them, and they have pushed through everything and made it happen because they burned all the bridges behind them. Now, I'm not saying grab a torch and throw it, but I'm basically saying that if you're driven that far, how could you not succeed? Like if you're in that point. Um, for me, I think that I did it wrong. Like you said, I made all of these bad investments into my business by the listings I didn't get, the buyers that said no, and I had to learn the hard way for many many years how to get there the right way. And my first coach, I remember, said, "Build a database," and I said, "Oh, I don't have to do that." And I didn't for a long time, and then I finally did, and my business turned around. Like I have 30 people in my database that give me $150,000 of business every single year. Like whether I'm really good at it or I'm not, all I have to do is stay in somewhat communication, and they always send me deals, and it's been very lucrative for me. And then after years of getting that, I finally said, "Oh, wouldn't it be great to have more?" And so because of that, I kind of came up with what I call my pillars of business. I didn't rip that off from anybody. I saw that show on TV, The Pillars, and I thought that's a cool name. And so it kind of has a foundational process for me that Every single person I've ever worked with, every new agent I've ever worked with knows 100 people. You may not like 100 people, but you know 100 people, and start there. Like I made the joke, like forget the CRMs, forget the great systems that are out there. Just sit down with a notebook and write down 100 names and phone numbers and start with that, and then get a great CRM and then get a great process. I got index cards for mine because I wanted little flip cards that I could do it just like when I was a kid with my flash card. And the goal was to grow it to 400, because with 400 people, and I'm talking to them every single month about real estate and what I do and how I do it, it's not about houses and them buying or selling. It's about them and their networks of people. And if I have 400 people that I'm communicating with every single month, which is only 20 people a day, by the way, it's a very attainable number. And I just talk about them. And do you know of anyone? I'm hitting thousands of people that are in my network of possibilities. And that's a lot better. And what I see with most agents is they talk to one person or two people a day and they hope for $100,000 results. That will never, ever happen. And that's where you said the strategy and the skill. And then I really got to the point where the activities, like I cold called and I did open houses because I was told that's what I had to do. And what I found out is if you work 18 to 20 months and you bang your head against the wall as hard as you can doing those activities and you build a big enough database, you'll never have to do them again. You only have to do them when you feel like it, because you have so much business, it's not a necessity anymore. But agents are doing it the other way. They're ignoring their database and they're going to do these activities hoping for great results when all they had to do was this over here. And I think I got that shift. And I'll tell you, I went to a class. It was a big real estate conference, and a lady got up, and she's not famous. She's not a real estate coach. And she said, here's how I sold my database for $300,000. And she literally, pulled up the database and she did 5 years of numbers. And she said, I made this much money this year, this much money this year. And this is what I do with these people. And here's their names and information. And all you have to do is follow my plan. And someone paid her $300,000 for that database. And she sold it as retirement income. And I thought, man, this is the answer. And so it made me change the way I think about those people and their value in my business.
It's crazy because this is one of the only industries that I'm aware of that you don't retire from, so to speak, but because there's no setup for a retirement, right? But when you look at it and you go, okay, you build this book of business and you've gotten business out of it all these years. Why wouldn't you sell it? Why couldn't you sell it? I mean, it happens all the time in the insurance industry. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great. Um,
You
any
know,
last words?
yeah, something you just said. I know two agents this year that retired from real estate, like completely retired. And I asked the question because I'm looking to cultivate my database bigger. And I said, hey, do you have any desire to sell your database to me? And I'll pay you residual income and you can use it for the next couple of years. One of them said, no, I'm just going to shut it down. And I'm like, why wouldn't you think about this? And they're like, oh, it just sounds like too much work. And I thought, what? Like you worked all 20 years to do this and now it's too much work. And the other person said, absolutely. What do we have to do? And I said, that's the mentality of agents that are out there. Every year, a bunch of people get out of the business, whether they wanted to or not. And those are opportunities for everyone here listening to grow a bigger database, because you don't even have to pay that much money to take over someone's database. You just have to be in front of them and ask.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's awesome. Now I need to start buying databases.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Uh,
of money in that data.
you're talking about the Jerry Springer final thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex said it last week, and I think it's impactful. Get up and do something. Like if you're sitting there right now and you don't have the results you want, and you're sitting there thinking that I've had a point in my life where I was considering leaving real estate completely. I thought I'd made a horrible decision. And I got up and I did something for that week. And that was about 12 years ago. And I've been in it ever since. And so I think that if you're sitting there on the sidelines wondering why you're not successful, leave your ego there and get up and make a phone call to Brandon or I and say, how can you help me get into success? And we will find you a path forward, and we will help you, figure that part out. And so don't wait another day to let this happen, because there's only so many days left until you're just completely out of business.
Right. And so my final thoughts would be, um, you're at the right company. If you're sitting there thinking you want to get out of the business or that the grass is greener on the other side or anything else, just know that we understand the feelings that you guys have, the struggle that's happening in this market. And that's why we're adapting the tools and the training and the mentorship and the coaching and all that stuff to give you the hand that you need and to let you know that you've got support on your side. It's important to me to point out that we're still a 100% company. We provide all this stuff at a flat transaction fee, and then we're independently owned and operated. And so we can make adjustments in our business to help you guys without having to go through all the corporate red tape. But like Chris said, don't just sit there and wait for something to change. Step out, make the call to us, tap into the accountability calls, tap into the academy, come to the trainings. I mean, we didn't even tap into or touch on all the CE classes and the revamping of that we've done is instead of having an education director teach it, we've got our brokers, us teaching these CE classes to make sure we're delivering better benefit. So I hope you guys feel the energy behind it. I hope you know that there's positivity behind it. We're in a good market. Yes, it's a little bit tougher, but you've got the leadership team that's here to help you. So if you need anything, so that's a pretty long final thought, but
Find a path or make one.
there you go. And with that, thanks for listening, and just reach out if we can help. And remember, we're always affirming your success.